Okay, Mr. Sykes, he says we're ready now.
All right. Ms. Kim Robinson, I think I saw Miss Tiffany Hale. Are you all ready on your ends?
I am.
Ms. Hale, Ms. Kim Robinson,
I am.
y'all virtual. Y'all ready?
I'm ready. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Oh,
Okay. Ms. Jenkins, you ready? Ms.
Yes.
Harrison, you ready? Mr.
Yes.
Williams?
Ready.
All right. Good evening again to each of you. Let us call our meeting to order now at 5:34 p.m. January 14th, 2021. Ask if you all would look at our agenda for our work session. Very quickly look over the agenda, see if there's anything that needs to be added for discussion tonight. One thing, if we can look at our agenda on number 2 before we would approve our agenda, that we need to say the board stipend and the supplemental tax. Because that's going to be basically rolling over into, it's going to be some of the same discussion, just bringing this information forth. Anyone have any problem with that? Anything else that we need to add to our work session agenda? If not, can we entertain a motion at this time that we approve our work session agenda for said day with the addition to number 2 under number 3?
I made a motion to approve the agenda for tonight with the addendum of adding on tax. What did you say it was?
The supplemental tax.
Supplemental tax for item number 3.2.
Is there a second?
second,
Who seconded that?
Kimberly Robinson.
Okay, thank you so much. The motion has been moved and properly seconded that we accept our work session agenda tonight with the addition of supplemental tax to under number 3, item 2 for our work session on tonight. You've heard that motion. Is there any unreadiness? Hearing none, let us prepare to vote by roll call. Ms. Donna Harrison,
Yes.
Ms. Edith Jenkins,
Yes.
Mr. James Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Kimberly Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Tiffany Hale,
Yes.
and O.D. Sykes. Yes, I have not seen Ms. Bird Robinson. I don't think she's on. All right, let the record reflect that the vote for our work session agenda tonight is a unanimous vote, 6 people voting in favor. All right. Let us go now to our work session items for discussion, and we'll start with number 1, and then we'll go to number 2, and then we'll go to number 3, and we'll have our adjournment. Item number 1, change of dates for board meetings. And I'll start that conversation for us to talk about it tonight. All of us know when we have been meeting, and we've been meeting on the Thursdays for some time, and just wanted to bring it to us tonight for discussion after our meeting that Dr. Congleton and I had on last week, and all the board members know, and no disrespect to Ms. Kimberly Robinson or Ms. Donna Harrison, but all of the members that have been on the board, we know for some time, the time that we meet during the month, we often have things that we had to vote on that become retroactive. When we meet during the month, all of our county commissioners' meetings are over with. So if there's anything that we need to get on the agenda for the month, all of the county commissioners' meetings are done. And after Dr. Congleton and I talked last week during our meeting, I asked him to put this on the agenda for our work session so we could talk about it to see what we wanted to do in the respect. The time that we meet during the month, it makes things sometimes difficult for our superintendent and otherwise. We had a meeting earlier on that we could do what we needed to do and wouldn't have so many things retroactive. And in many instances, just sharing with Dr. Congleton, and he shared with me as well, the time that we meet during the month, sometimes it kind of handicaps in certain situations, especially things that he has to have, the board approval on. So I said we could talk about that tonight and see where we go. Does anyone want to chime in?
Yes, Mr. Seitz. So you saying changing the date? You want it to be another day?
Yeah, earlier on in the month, the time that we meet, our regular board meeting is very late in the month, and doing it earlier in the month, maybe I say I'm just throwing some days out there, maybe the first Tuesday or the second Monday in the month.
Okay. So is there a problem with having it on Thursday other than getting information out that the superintendent might need, or you just feel like it needs to be earlier than on a Thursday?
Well, that's just some of the things that we've done. We've always had to make things retroactive because of when we meet during the month. All of our county commissioners meetings have passed for the month. And there has even been times that if we had something, going on at the school board when we met, the time that we meet during the month, sometimes we always had to make things retroactive. When if we would have had it earlier on in the month, we would have had the time to get everything situated and get it passed before the month actually went out.
Well, sorry.
Yes, sir. Mr. Williams.
I understand the change in the date, but whether you have it at the beginning or the end, in either case, there are going to be situations where some things have passed and it's going to be retroactive. If you do it at the first of the month, there's going to be some things that come up within 30 days, and it'd be the same thing with it being the 33rd. So it's not going to. I don't see where it's going to really make a difference, because something's going to happen in between those 30 days, no matter where you have it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I think your rationale made a good call, because if we're meeting after our county commissioners, that puts us into another month. And I think it makes good sense with dealing with the town of Weldon and our county commissioners that our meeting be changed to early in the month. So if we need to talk to the county commissioners or have something going on with the town of Weldon, we will be ready for that. And those are usually the two entities that we usually have things going on with and have to go to.
Okay.
Mr. Sykes, when does county commission, when do they meet again?
They meet the first Monday of the month and the third Monday of the month.
Mhm.
And normally,
And when we meet, it's after the third Monday.
correct.
And what about the town of Weldon?
They meet, I think, the second Tuesday
Mhm.
of the month.
Mhm.
Mr. Sykes,
Yes.
uh,
Who is
Is
that,
it-
Ms. Jenkins?
yes, me.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Jenkins.
But my thing is, it depends on what the date that our board meeting fall on. And to me, I don't know, but I think it should stay the same as it is. I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself now.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I'm just speaking for mine.
And the other thing, and I just share this with you all as well. And this, was something to talk about. I'm not saying that we would decide tonight or not. That's just, a work session item. And if we need to address it later, as far as the vote is concerned, we can do that later. But I think we just needed to have some starting conversation here. And also meeting on Thursdays. And I know this came up one time before you came back on the board, Ms. Jenkins, board members have said, meeting earlier on in the week rather than the Thursday was concerned, everybody getting ready to end the week, so forth and so on. So, brought it up for conversation tonight, and we've heard it, we expressed some on it. Does anyone else have any comments on it?
The only thing, if I could, Reverend Sykes.
Yes.
So I would, I would certainly agree with some of the comments that, to some extent, no matter when you meet, you're either before, you could look at it one way, that meeting late in the month, you're before the first meeting of the commissioners, but also I get the fact that when you meet, you've missed the meetings for that month. But I guess the only thing I would say is, the first and second Mondays are very popular meeting dates for boards. So from the firm's perspective, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays make it easier for us to cover the meetings because we have more lawyers who are not already in a meeting. Like, for instance, I have a meeting already on the first Monday in Nash, and then on the second Monday in Northampton. So your meeting is very conveniently located for me, but as long as you don't go with a Monday, because that's the one day that is currently very popular, and I get it. And if you want to go with Monday, you're obviously free to go with Monday. But it just makes our board meeting coverage within our office more complicated the more Monday meetings that we have. So if, again, Tuesdays, while they are popular, they're not as popular as Monday. And it just gives us more people that if I'm out of town or whatever and somebody else needs to cover, that we can make sure we can have somebody to cover it. So that would be my only, whether it's the first or the last or, whatever, we'll make that work. But Mondays are tough. Unless you do the third Monday, then that wouldn't matter, but that doesn't help you. So, all right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Malone. Anyone else?
Well, I
Okay,
think
we'll
that I
go
was gonna
ahead, Ms.
say,
Giselle.
I know that he said Tuesday or Wednesday, would work best for them. But I was just thinking if we had it on a Tuesday, when we get into the sports, and I know that a lot of people do attend the games on Tuesdays and Friday nights are big sports game night for our high school. So that wouldn't be a good time either. I don't think for to have it on a Tuesday evening, because a lot of people attend those games. Whenever we do start back with our athletic season.
Right. Okay. Well, like I said, that's just initial conversation. That's nothing that we're going to vote on tonight. That's something that we can address at another time. And in that respect, and thank all of you for your comments. And I'm not trying to stop anyone from speaking or talking, but at the same time, I want to be kind with everyone's time. Does anyone else have anything else to say about that? All right. We'll talk about that later. We've had initial conversation, and I guess we'll move forward in whichever respect if we should choose to at a later time. Thank you all so much. All right. Let's move on now to number 2 if we don't have any other comments or questions concerning number 1 under work item 3. Number 2 is board stipend and the supplemental tax. Want us to begin again conversation with that simply because many of you all that were on the board, you remember from when we went to the county commissioners back in 2019, I believe it was, talking about the board stipend changes, and also I think it was March of last year when we put the supplemental tax on the ballot. And of course, you all know what the commissioner said about the board stipend. And I'm reading that to us from the letter. I don't know if anyone still has their letter, but basically this was a letter sent from Mr. Rollins to us and Mr. Malone when we actually said something about that. And it wasn't just us, it was Halifax County School Board as well. And the commissioners, and in the letter that they sent to us, the commissioners have declined to exercise their authority to fix the compensation and expense allowances for school board members. They made this clear by unanimous action on September the 18th, 2017, when both the Weldon City Schools Board of Education and Halifax County Board of Education made requests for an increase in compensation. Though, and it says in the letter, please note, those requests were not denied. The commissioners merely declined to exercise authority over school board compensation and expense allowances. And it further states that Halifax County takes the position that any increase in school board members' compensation or expense allowances since July 1, 1975 must have resulted from local act of the General Assembly. So basically they were saying to us that if a increase in board stipend was given, that it would have to basically be a local bill from our legislators, which would be one in the Senate and one in the House. And in connection with that, you all do remember that Senator Fitch told us when we put the supplemental tax on the ballot that whatever happened with it, if local legislation needed to be done, that we would talk about that, but the conversation needed to begin in January and not halfway through the legislative session. And so that's why I wanted to bring that before us tonight in our work session. And moving forward, if we're going to pursue that, we need to start talking with them now. And while we're talking about that, I have spoken with Representative Ray today, and he said that whatever, we needed done, and that's the same thing that Senator Fitch said, of course, we would have to send a resolution from our board to get anything done between the two of them on the local level, as far as like a local bill is concerned. So I wanted to share that with everybody in that respect. Do we have questions or comments with that? Questions or comments? Okay, well, let me ask the board members, is that something that we still want to, as a whole, engage in conversation with, as far as what we could possibly do for the senator and the representative to work on a local bill?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. When was the last time the board received an increase?
At that time, and Attorney Malone, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you worked on this with us back in 2019. I think it had been around the time frame, it probably had been about 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that the subtlety in that letter from Glenn Rollins is that that increase, if it occurred, may, he was saying that wasn't approved by the commissioner. So, that's a little tricky. But yeah, the short version is it's been a long time. This has been an issue that's come up certainly multiple times in the last 5 years, certainly going back to when Dr. Wells was here. It's come up like at least 3 times. I think the board has reached out to the commissioners for an increase. I think that letter that we got in 2019 was the first kind of formal response that the board's inquiries have received over the years. That may be a slight exaggeration, but probably not too far off. I mean, I know we haven't really gotten much of a response until we got that particular letter. I mean, I think that as you may know, I mean, the board has not asked the commissioners to increase your local funding from the commissioners to fund this additional compensation. And notwithstanding that part of the request, the commissioners have, have denied it. We certainly will be happy to work with the chair and the local delegation on drafting something to increase your compensation. I would think we would want to check with, so remind me, is Weldon and Halifax have to have the same? Is that correct?
I'm not sure on if it was the two of us, because I think the research that was done as far as Roanoke Rapids was concerned, money was a little different. I don't know if they were inclusive of this letter or not, because at the time only Halifax County and Weldon formally made a request, and I think that was done together, if my memory serves me correctly, in 2017.
Yeah, I think, and I pulled up, you sent an email back on June of 2019 to the board at the time. And in your email, you reference the local legislation, and it says the members of the Weldon City Schools Board of Education shall receive the same compensation and expense allowances as are allowed to the members of the Halifax County Board of Education. So the point in that being that I think that if this board were interested in a change, we would likely want to reach out to the Halifax County Board to see if we could get kind of a joint request. And then we would be happy to work with the local delegation to get something drafted to increase that to, a more reasonable number. I do think your compensation is arbitrarily low, or artificially low, maybe, given what other boards receive now, and just how much more difficult it's become over the years to be a school board member. I think there's a lot more work involved, a lot more preparation time involved. This year is a great example of that. So I certainly will do whatever we can if you decide to go in this direction to, help work with Halifax County and to get something drafted that that your local delegation would be willing to, introduce. And I mean, typically, if a local delegation introduces something like this, it will normally get passed. So if your local delegation is on board, you should be able to get it done.
Okay. Anyone else have any comment with that? And to the board members that have been on for the last 4 years, in particularly, we've had many conversations about this, and I'm only sharing this with us now in January work session is because Senator Fitch made it clear to us last year when we were dealing with the referendum with the supplemental tax that any local legislation coming from the representative and the senator, it would need to get to them, early in the session when the session first begins rather than halfway through. And if this is something that we're going to look at pursuing, now would be the time to share that with them rather than trying to wait until March, April to get something pushed through. Any comments or questions?
I think that because we've talked about it, we've had several different conversations about it in the past and over the years, to go ahead on and continue pursuing it. But like Mr. Malone said, I don't know if we want to wait and try to get with what you say, Halifax County Schools, Mr. Malone.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to forward this email to the group, and then if the board decides that you're interested in this, then I'll pull the legislation that's cited here, and we can kind of make sure that we know exactly what would be needed. But in looking at this email from Reverend Sykes, that it looks, from the way it's written, I mean, it's almost like cut and pasted it from somewhere. So it looks like that's exactly what it would say. But I can certainly pull it up if this is something that. So if you're interested in it, I do think that we would need to make sure, and actually it's in the letter from Rollins too, now that I think about what you just read. So, I mean, it does sound like we want to get both of those boards on board, or both boards on board, and then move forward.
And this letter, of course, was forwarded to us. I still have my letter, what I read an excerpt from. This letter was sent from Rollins to Mr. Malone, and of course, Mr. Malone gave it to us because we were talking about it in that respect. So,
yeah, and I'm looking for that letter too. Surprisingly, your email popped up, but not that letter. So I'm I'm about to do a different search so I can find that letter. But yeah, as soon as I find that full letter, I'll forward that to the board also here in a minute.
Okay.
I
So,
remember the letter.
okay. So board members is, I mean, we've been pursuing that for some time. We've talked about it. So is that something we still want to move forward with to see what that would look like?
You know the sign?
Yes. That's Ms. Jenkins, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because, well, when we were going to workshop before the virus, and that was back when the other ones was on the board. You know, we would talk to some of the people up there, and, you know, and they were talking about what they were getting. And, you know, we were just like a drop in the bucket, you know what I mean? And basically, you know, it has been a long time since we got a road, you know, there we go.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yes, sir. Mr. Williams?
let's say, move forward.
All right. Ms. Robinson? Ms. Harrison? Y'all have any comment?
I agree if the board, the ones that have been here before me, want desire. I have no problem with it. Proceed.
Yes, I'm on with it to move forward with it.
All right. So, and Ms. Hale said that she was in favor of it as well. She made that statement earlier. So, Mr. Malone, I guess, do we need to have some formal meeting with Halifax County? Or is that something that you could reach out to begin conversation, you know, with their lawyer to see where they are and if they wanted to do a joint resolution with us? Or did we need to try to have a combined meeting with them?
So I don't know that we necessarily need to have a combined meeting with them. I think that we could reach out to them. You know, maybe what I can do is reach out to Larry Armstrong, and after I talk to Larry, we may then want to have Dr. Congleton reach out to Dr. Cunningham, and then it may just be, we may be able to do something a little bit more informal from there, you know, that wouldn't require a formal board meeting, but find out if they've got interest in supporting this endeavor, and then we can figure out the cleanest way to move forward. I did find that letter, an email that we got from Glenn Rollins, or that I got from Glenn Rollins, that he sent to, so I'll forward this. It does. Yeah, so anyway, I need to read this again. And I can't in my quick scanning of it tell if it applies to Roanoke Rapids or not. Glenn's email was to Larry Armstrong, to me, and to Deborah Stagner. So it's possible, and Deborah does a lot of work in Roanoke Rapids, so it's possible that it is all three of us, but for some reason that's not my memory. So let me see if I'll try to sort that out in the meantime. But yeah, if the board has interest in this, I think that makes sense at some point, and maybe it will be next week. You may want to put this on the action agenda to make some formal vote. And maybe in the meantime, I can reach out to Mr. Armstrong, and then I'll work with you, Chair Sykes, and maybe Mr. And Dr. Congleton to figure out a good way to at least get some sense from Halifax County. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be from an official board action, but just maybe from them about their interest in the matter. And then we can huddle up at next week's meeting and try to decide what makes the most sense as a way to proceed. But I do think you're right. I mean, the legislature, they got sworn in, I believe, this week, and they're out for another couple of weeks. But I do certainly getting it in sooner than later is what you're going to want to do.
Right. Okay. And I'm only referencing Weldon and Halifax County because in the note that came from Glenn Rollins to the three of you, which of course you forwarded to our board, it only mentions Weldon and Halifax County schools.
And I think the reason for that, this is what I'm trying to make sense of. I think the email says that I'll hit send here in a second, so you'll all have this. But the email seems to suggest that Halifax and Weldon made a request to increase it at about the same time. And then, so they were responding to the request that they received from Halifax and from Weldon. And I just read that to only say that Roanoke Rapids did not make a request at that time, because I don't think we were coordinating our requests. We just happened to maybe have made them at the same time. And then that resulted in this letter. But it is probably, when I read this letter again here in a second, it is probably going to be clear in the letter that all three boards are supposed to be compensated the same. But that certainly would not prevent Halifax and Halifax and Weldon from changing yours. I mean, if you're doing local legislation, then it can be local. So I mean, they can make them different. So I'll read this, hit send, and then we'll talk, over the next day or so, reach out to Halifax, and then we can come up with the next best way to proceed.
Okay. All right. Dr. Congleton, you have that as far as the agenda for next week, correct? Dr. Congleton?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. The boardroom must have been muted. I didn't hear you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I guess the same thing you all do remember, and so we can try to finish up here by 6:30. The supplemental tax, that was the same thing. Of course, Senator Fitch, when we were trying to get everything on the agenda to get it on the ballot during the primary, we had some discussions about when we were going to put it up there. And, some of us said, for the November general election, and then some said the primary. So it ended up on the ballot for the primary. But of course, Senator Fitch told us that if it was to not pass, that we could pursue something locally as far as the senator and the representative was concerned. So do you all want to have conversation about that as well, as far as the supplemental tax is concerned, as far as what can be done locally from the senator and the representative?
I would.
Okay, Ms. Hale. Anyone else?
I think that's a good idea.
Who is it? Is that Ms. Bird Robinson?
It is.
Okay, all right. I didn't know you had joined the meeting. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
I think we should proceed.
All right, Ms. Robinson. Mr. Williams, were you saying something?
I said yes.
Okay. All right. Ms. Harrison, Ms. Jenkins,
Yes.
y'all in favor with it as well?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you all so much. So we can move forward with that also, as far as seeing what we could do with a local bill from our senator and representative as far as the supplemental tax is concerned, and what type of verbiage we would have to move forward as far as that is concerned. And I think, Mr. Malone, correct me if I'm wrong, that would require a separate resolution if we were to ask, or, you know, ask them to do something locally with a local bill. That would be a separate resolution sending to both of them, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I mean, I guess it could technically be the same one long resolution, but it would need to be specifically identified is probably the best way to say it.
Okay. All right. And, you know, we did say what we were looking for. I think board members, are we going to consider the same amounts that we were looking at when it was actually put on the ballot as far as trying to incorporate that in the resolution? We're looking at the same amounts, correct?
Yes, but that needs to be shared with the new board members, the amounts.
I want to say it's 22 cents right now. Didn't we say a cap of, was it 27 cents or was it 30 cents?
Let me see if
Anyone
I can
remember?
find it. I may have it here.
Mr. Williams, Ms. Jenkins, does either one of you remember while he's looking?
I thought it was at 20 cent now, and we had asked, if I'm not mistaken, it was up to 50 cents. But I think the wording gonna have to be looked at, because I think the wording was misleading on the ballot.
Exactly. It was misleading. I would agree with you with that 100%. And I think that's part of the reason why it failed, because people thought that it was going to jump up to 50 cents. And, you know, I know we were saying to people that, no, that wasn't true. It was going to be in smaller increments. You just couldn't do that.
Correct.
Yeah, it says that it's calling for a referendum to determine if the maximum amount of the supplemental school tax that may be levied and assessed for the benefit of Weldon should be increased from 20 cent to 50 cent per $100 valuation of real property. But yeah, it certainly was not intended to be an automatic increase from 20 cent to 50 cent. And, you know, you would still have to go through the regular process, you know, of actually deciding to increase it. But yeah, that is what the request was to go from 20 cent to 50 cent.
Right. Okay. And we have that verbiage in there already. So we already have a framework to work from, I would say, in that respect, and what we wanted to present as far as a local bill. I think we need to consider the same numbers that we agreed to, but it may need to be some type of stipulation that it would, you know, that it would increase only, you know, like 1 cent every so many years, you know, or something like that. So it could go as far as a local resolution. All right. Anyone else have anything to say about that, the supplemental part of it?
And I'm forwarding to the entire board an email that I sent to Chair Cradle, you know, back right before the election, that has a copy of an email about what you could, how the efforts the board could use to promote it. The cover letter from the chair and the superintendent to the county requesting it, the petition as drafted by the Board of Education and approved by the board. And so you'll have, you know, that'll give you certainly a great starting point, you know, as you look at this issue again.
Okay.
So I've sent, I believe, 3 emails during this meeting that you'll have the various documents that we've been talking about during the course of the meeting.
Okay. Right. Thank y'all so much. Anyone else have any comments concerning that? All right. Was there a comment or question? Okay.
One, but I'll wait until we've completed the agenda.
Is it related to the subject now?
No, it was concerning the board meeting changes, and that's when my computer went out. So, but I'll wait until we're done and go back.
Okay, hopefully we'll have a moment or two to come back to that real quick. All right, let's move on to item number 3. Under number 3 for our work session tonight, Dr. Congleton and I had a conversation last week, and he shared information with me, and I asked that he would share it with the entire board just so we would all be on the same page concerning our budget. So I'm going to ask if Dr. Congleton would share with us at this time.
Okay, thank you very much, Sykes. I don't have a lot of information or numbers to talk about as it relates to the budget at this point in time. And hopefully when our finance officer returns from sick leave, we can go into greater detail. But I do want to stress something in a general way as it relates to our budget, both now and what we'll be doing in the future. As you all know, we've had a steady decline in the ADM over the years, and it seems to be getting worse instead of better. And the reason that I bring that up is because we all know that our funding from the state is based upon the ADM. And what has happened is that we have not proportionately, in my opinion, reduced staffing according to our reduction in ADM. So that means then that at the end of the year, obviously, there's not enough money in the budget coming from the state fund to cover what would normally be state positions. So it had to be offset, through local funding or other resources that the school system may have. And so I just wanted the board to be cognizant of the fact that we really need to start doing some long-term and strategic planning as it relates to staffing in regards and in relationship to the ADM and state funding. Now, we are overstaffed in some of our schools. In most of our schools, we are really overstaffed. And I'm not advocating that we go through and start riffing people or firing people or releasing people and things like that. But I do think that through attrition, that we need to pay close attention to positions that open up as a result of attrition, meaning that, as people retire or leave on their own or whatever situation might be that create vacancies, rather than rushing in to just automatically fill those slots. We really need to take a close look at what, at the number of positions that's been earned based upon ADM, because we get funding for that to some extent, and then make some decisions about how we might need to reorganize or restructure and that sort of thing, because next year, and this is not good news, but right now we have approximately 700, I think it's around 750 students, K-12 ADM. That's just an approximation. And it's being projected that next year we will probably have less than 700 if the trend continues and some things do not change. So I have been speaking with the principals and trying to challenge them to come up with ways and try to do things to stabilize our enrollment, maybe to get some of the kids coming back from places that they may have gone to, like maybe some of the charter schools or private schools or KIPP or whatever the situation might be, to try to build up our ADM so that we can increase our funding as well, and stabilize the situation. I mean, I think that we'll be okay. I don't think that we would have to end up doing anything any different this year financially than what you all have done in the past, because I think you've always had to, well, the past several years, from what I understand, have had to supplement the budget at the end of the year in order to balance things off. But you have to ask yourself, how long are you going to be able to sustain that over a long period of time? And I'm really thinking about from a long-term perspective as opposed to just this year, but in subsequent years with a decline in enrollment.
Do you have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Kim Robinson, go right ahead.
How long have we known this fact to be true? Since the beginning of this school year, or when?
Well, I think this is really something that, from my understanding, you know, that has been happening over a period of time. Didn't just start this year, you know, because several years ago, our enrollment was like over 1,200 students, but over a period of time, it has declined. And we just have not matched the decline in personnel, or the decrease in personnel, I should say, with the decline in enrollment. And I'll just give you one quick example. I don't think we need to get into a lot of details right now until our budget officer is present. We've done some more research and that sort of thing. But in terms of, let's say, assistant principals, for an example, what we actually earn from the state is 7 months of employment for an assistant principal based upon the number of students that we have. And I think we have 3 assistant principals, you know, so that's just one category, one example. And, you know, so I think we're going to have to really pay close attention to our staffing and how it relates to the amount of money that we get from the state based upon ADM.
Ms. Robinson, do you have any follow-up? Ms. Kim Robinson?
Yes, I do have a follow-up question.
Okay.
Has this been shown through your audits in past years?
Has it been shown through the audits in past years?
Yes.
Well, I would assume so. You know, the books are audited every year, and you know, as long as the deficits are covered in some way, you know, then you're going to be okay as far as the audit is concerned. My concern is that you know, after a period of time, and if this trend continues, how long are you going to be able to cover it? And that's what my real concern is. In other words, I'm just looking down the road, you know, 3, 4, 5 years of whatever situation might be, more so than how we're being impacted right at the moment.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do have another follow-up question.
Okay, go right
How
ahead.
much is the impact at this moment, Dr. Congleton?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Would you repeat it?
How much is the impact? Are we being impacted at this moment?
Okay, good question. I don't know, and the reason why, well, there's several reasons why I don't know and why I can't say for sure, because number one, you know, at this time of the year and, you know, from now until the end of the year, finance officers, I guess in every school district, are trying to make adjustments, moving resources around, changing the allocations for different, well, not the allocations, but the source of funding for different types of positions, trying to balance things off. If we can have federal funds take care of certain situations where there may be a deficit, if the law allows and if the grant allows so, then those adjustments are made. So it's an ongoing, constantly changing phenomenon. So, you know, I'm not in a position to say at this point in time where we are in terms of a dollar figure, because like I said, you know, the finance officer is constantly trying to make adjustments and working with the various programs that we get through federal funding, through grants, and of course the state funding as well. So those things help us to balance certain situations are out rather, and help us to, you know, make certain adjustments. But I can't say what it is at this point.
Dr. Congleton,
Yes, sir.
now you did just say to us that the finance officer was out, correct?
That's correct.
Is there a time frame?
Yeah, probably. And I don't want to go into a whole lot of details because I don't want to violate anybody's confidentiality. That's
No. We don't want to do that at all. But it's going to be longer than a week or two.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I think with that being said, we definitely need to keep in mind that if the finance officer is out, we don't want to violate anything, either somebody working when they are out, if they're, you know, not supposed to be, whatever the length of time is. So we certainly don't want to do that either. So we got to, or you have to, some way, form, or fashion, we got to find out exactly where we are. And, you know, if they're out, they're out. But, you know, at the same time, we got to do what we got to do. So I think all of us need to keep that in mind as Dr. Congleton works on it.
Yeah. And we are working on that, and hopefully at some point we will be able to communicate with her and get some help and assistance and guidance and that sort of thing, you know, and hopefully at some point, even though that she may be able to actually do some work from home and that sort of thing. Again, you know, I'm not going to get into much discussion about that because I don't want to violate her privacy, you know, and that sort of thing. But, you know, we're very well aware of that. We're doing everything that we can to try to stay on top of the situation, you know, as best we can. And so I hear you and I agree with you. And we're going to do everything that we can to keep things stabilized.
Dr. Carlton?
Yes.
In the absence of our budget manager, who is handling those duties? Because if we're saying that we are already in a deficit, then we need someone who's staying on top of those things in the absence of, we realize, as you said, that our person is out, but we still need someone who's on top of those things. So who is carrying on the duties in the absence of the budget manager?
Right. Well, you know, there are two other people in her department, but, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that those two people have the same level of knowledge, you know, to be able to deal with the budgetary situations as she does, because they each have different areas of responsibility. But, you know, I know that she is working with them and trying to make sure that, you know, that we stay afloat until she can get back and make the adjustments and so forth. I mean, the good thing is that, you know, we're just in January, and hopefully she'll have time when she gets back to make certain adjustments. We're going to continue to move forward as we're doing right now, communicate with her as best as we can to get some sense of direction and advice and that sort of thing. But it's not the kind of position where you can just go out and find somebody to come in to fill an interim because, you know, it requires a certain amount of skill and knowledge in that particular and specific area. You know, finance officers are very difficult to replace, actually, you know, so, and we will also, you know, rely upon the auditor that we work very closely with, as well as the State Department, the finance office within the State Department if we need to. So we're doing everything that we can to try to manage the situation as best as we can.
Okay.
Have we considered an interim finance officer? And I understand what you just said, they're hard to find. But I do know that there are people who are retired who have done those types of things, or accountants and things like that. Have we tried to? Because as Mr. Sykes said, I don't want us to get into a situation where someone is feeling that they're being pressured to do some work and they're out on leave. We certainly don't want to get into a situation like that. So I think there are some things we need to look at.
Okay. Well, certainly if there's someone out there, but like I said, it's not, the kind of position where you have a lot of people available that have the skill and then all of the background information that one needs to have in order to continue with the situation the way that we are, doing it now. But all I can tell you is that we will monitor the situation very, very closely. And, if anybody, knows of anyone that, that may have the skill that we could contract with to help us out, then that will certainly, be to our advantage. And we will work towards that end. But I'm just simply saying to you that, it's not a large cadre of people that you can just go out there and bring somebody in. By the time you do that, hopefully, our finance office will be back in place, because it would take some time.
Congressman, have you considered hiring an outside external audit? Because I'm very concerned that it has not been presented before from the auditor that you all currently use, that this is a problem. They should have caught that and put it into an item where the board would have been aware of it, and that we'd be able to work toward not having this problem in January, the first month of a year.
Right. Well, and you get an audit report every year. And and what I said in my comments is that I'm really projecting ahead towards the future. I'm just trying to be proactive. I'm not necessarily sounding a panic alarm for right now, but I'm just simply saying that if we continue on the same path without giving some real strong consideration about how much personnel we have in the school and this sort of thing, then we would really be heading for trouble. And that was one reason why, even when I first came here in terms of this past summer, I had asked each principal to give up one position, in order to help with the budget situation. And because I felt that there was some overstaffing based upon the amount of money that we got from the state, But the good news is that we do get funding from other sources as well, that allow us to be able to make adjustments in certain situations as we go along.
All right. Look, do we have another question?
I do.
Okay,
Well,
go ahead, Ms. Hale.
Dr. Congleton, because you are the interim superintendent, and I know that we are in the process of in the process of finding us a superintendent.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think we're trying to have someone in place by July 1st, if I'm not mistaken. What necessary precautions or steps are you looking at taking for the remainder of this school year going into next school year? Because hopefully we'll have a new superintendent on board in July.
Right.
But we want to make it, kind of like a smooth transition.
Absolutely.
And instead of a superintendent coming in and inheriting, it's a problem. And
Right.
I mean, what do you plan on doing?
Well, one thing that I've sort of put in place right now, and is that we have several vacancies, and I know that some of you may be wondering, well, why haven't we filled some of these vacancies? Well, I'll just have to be honest with you. In some cases, I've sort of drug my foot, and not fill some of these vacancies, just trying to make sure that, since we have an overstaffing situation, that there's no rush. And then on top of that, we have all of our students that are operating from home. So that takes a little bit of the pressure off in terms of the amount of staff that might be needed and that sort of thing. So as we have vacancies, we just sort of taking our time in terms of filling them or not filling them until we can get to the end of the year and regroup and that sort of thing. People are under contract right now. So, it's not feasible to start talking about, letting people go or that sort of thing. And I'm not talking about that anyway. I'm talking about making adjustments through attrition, and that way it sort of takes care of itself when the opportunity presents itself. and also being very, very wise in terms of how we utilize staff. We may have to share some staff and that sort of thing in the future. And because we can do all kinds of auditing and everything else, but the fact of the matter is that if we continue to have the decline in enrollment, our state funding is going to reduce. And once you get to a point, and I think we're just about there, where you have reached a critical mass with your staffing and your schools and your students and that sort of thing. And what I mean by that is that you have to have a certain amount of people. I don't care how few students you have, but yet we are not funded with that in mind from the funding agencies such as the state. And so we just have to be smart about it and think about all those kinds of things, you know. And in the future, we may end up situations where we may have to have, I don't know, combination classes in some situations because the schools are so small. You know, we have 2 high schools with maybe 130 in one and 125, 130. So, you know, in another, you can put both of them together and you still got a small high school. You know, yet we're operating two high schools. And I'm not saying, you know, that we shouldn't. I'm just saying these are some things that we have to look at. You know, we're kind of living high on the hog as it relates to personnel. But at some point, you know, and it may be long after I'm gone, but at some point, some sacrifices and some hard decisions are going to have to be made, you know, in order to sustain, you know, our existence.
Dr. Congleton, if you would, real quick, I do just want to say this for all of us. I know you said we have 2 high schools. I think we need to say we have a high school and we have an early college. And I know that's on the high school setting. They're taking high school classes, but I think we need to put that out there because we do have students in our district that are taking both high school and college courses at the same time. And I don't think we need to diminish that at all. I understand your point. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, you know, we have these 2 small schools, you know, that still have to be staffed, and, you know, we have the principal at each place, those kinds of things. And I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not advocating that we eliminate anything, one or the other. I'm just trying to draw attention to what our status is, and so that maybe we come up with a plan in terms of how we can structure things and survive. That's all.
Exactly. Okay, listen, board members. If we can we agree to stop our discussion right there and get ready to go into our special call meeting unless someone has a pressing comment. I know Ms. Bird Robinson, you said that you had a comment and we would be going back. I will allow you to make that comment, or we'll hear your comment at this time. Or do you want to hold it?
I was just going to ask, because of course my computer went off at that time. So I was just going to ask what was decided about the board meeting, or if we even made a decision, or what was the discussion about?
No, we did not make a decision. We'll have to discuss that later. Their pros, their cons. I hate that you were not on the phone when you say your computer went out when we were talking about it. We did not make any decision. We'll have to have further conversation concerning that. But I know we won't get it. We won't be able to get it tonight because we have another meeting that we are supposed to be going into. So we'll have to save that for another time. There was no decision in that respect.
Thank you for bringing me up to date.
Okay. Dr. Congleton, can we close with this? And board members, if you all would accept this, if this is something, since Dr. Congleton does not have any hard figures, Dr. Congleton, if you would, as best you can, by our next Thursday's board meeting, if even if it's not an exact figure that you were talking about, do you think you would be able to get some number just so we can know what we're looking at? Prayerfully, things are not as bad as your concern is, but
Right.
in the same time, being proactive. Do you think within a week's time that you could get some type of number that could be possible? Not holding you anything exact, because I know that's that might be a little tight.
No, sir, I really don't. Not without the finance officer being able, because, you know, what I don't want to do is create a bigger problem than what we're trying to solve, and I want to be as accurate as I possibly can. I have no way of putting together that information and those numbers and figures without the finance officer. You know, I mean, that's what she does. I don't have the passwords or anything else to. And if I did, I wouldn't know, what to do with it, to be honest with you.
Sure.
So as much as I hate saying no to anything that the board make a request of, if I feel like I can't do it, I have to be honest and say so. And I just don't feel like that, particularly in less than a week's time, that I would be able to get this information, because I don't think that the person that I need to get it from is going to be able to provide it for me that quickly, to be honest with you.
All right. Okay, we're hearing that. We're definitely not going to solve that tonight either. That's a conversation that we will have to have at a later date.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything else to come before us with our work session tonight, before we're prepared to go into our special call meeting? Okay, Mr. Malone, let me ask something of you.
Yes, sir.
Can we go right over into our special call meeting, or do we need to officially adjourn and then reopen?
Technically you should adjourn and then reopen, since you noticed them as two separate meetings, which is perfectly fine to do, but you should adjourn one and then convene the other one.
All right, thank you so much.
And if it's okay with the board, my plan was to drop off now, since you're really just getting information from the School Boards Association about the search. Unless you think you need me for that, I was going to drop off now.
I don't know if Ms. Black is on the, let's see if Ms. Black is on.
I'm here. I'm
She-
here.
She is aware that I was not planning to be on unless you need.
I
Hey, Nancy,
gotcha. Hey, Rod, good to see you.
good to see you.
Board members, do you all right with Mr. Malone dropping off? Y'all think you're gonna have any questions?
I'm fine with it, with them dropping off.
All right, great. Thank you.
All right, okay.
Hey, you've got my cell number. If you need me, just call me and I can hop back on. But I'm not going.
Okay.
I'll be around if you need me. But I've talked to Nancy. I know what she's gonna talk to you about, and trust me, you're in very capable hands.
All right, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Mr. Malone.
All right.
Can we have a motion to adjourn our work session at this time?
I make a motion to adjourn the work session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second that we adjourn our work session. You heard that motion. Is there any unreadiness? Hearing none. All those in favor, let it be known by your voice vote. O.D. Sykes, aye. Ms. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Hale,
Yes.
Ms. Kim Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins,
Yes.
Ms. Bird Robinson.
Yes.
All right, let the record reflect that it is a unanimous vote. We are adjourned from our work session. Thank you so much. Going right into our special call meeting. Does everyone have their agenda before them? All right, if everybody has their agenda before them, we have 3 items. Call into order our superintendent search report and adjournment. Is there anything else that needs to be added to this agenda? If not, a motion is in order that we accept this agenda for our special call meeting.
I make a motion to accept the agenda for our special call meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been moved and properly second that we accept our agenda for our special call meeting. You've heard that motion. Is there any unreadiness? Hearing none. All in favor, would you let it be known by your voice vote? Ms. Jenkins? Ms. Jenkins?
Yeah, I said yes, yes.
Oh, I didn't hear you. It must have been muted. Okay. Ms. Hale?
Aye.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Okay, it must be going out. Y'all, please forgive me. Ms. Kim Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Bird Robinson?
Aye.
And O.D. Sykes, aye. All right. Thank you all so much. Ms. Nancy Black, she is on, and we're ready to hear our North Carolina School Board Association report on our superintendent search. Ms. Black.
Thank you, board members. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
It's good to be with you. I am hoping that I can share my PowerPoint by pushing share screen. If not, I did send it to you earlier today and we'll just walk through it together. But let me first try to share my screen and see if we can get it for you. Okay. How is that?
Yes.
Can you
Looks
see
good.
it? Oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Lord. You are the most patient folks with all this technology and all you have going on. I appreciate your time and I'll try to get right to the point. I appreciate having the time to go through and give you this report on the surveys that you received from the community and staff. At the end of our time together, the board is also planning to review and work on their leadership profile publicly. So first, I would like to update us briefly, just so the new board members and the public and everybody kind of knows where we are in the search process for the new leader of the Weldon City Schools. We began advertising, recall the position formally September 21st, 2020, although a lot of people had kind of heard about it before because the board had been talking about it for some time. This happened right after the board meeting in which the board reviewed and approved the initial documents that included the vacancy announcement. And the board chose survey options for the community, one for the community and one for the staff. The application deadline for candidates to apply for this position was Monday, November 16th. So interested people had 2 whole months to apply after the vacancy was advertised. And you've just had a great response with 40 applicants from 13 states, including many from North Carolina and some locally. So we have been working hard to get the applications ready for you all to review. We'll be posting them on Assembly tomorrow. We're real excited for you to see them. So I hope you'll call me if you have any questions or difficulty logging into Assembly. Chelsea, my assistant, will be out of the office on a much deserved break for a few days. So I'm here and I've got what you need so we can work on it together. The board is scheduled to meet on my timeline later this month to discuss the applications they've reviewed and choose the candidates that they would like to initially interview. I've got that on my calendar the 28th. So I don't know how that works with all these board meetings you're having, so let me know, Mr. Chairman, if that needs to change or something. But right now, we're on the calendar to be with you all that day at 5:30. And we'll help you notice that meeting. So from this point on, the public should know that the search will be conducted in closed session to meet legal requirements and protect the confidentiality of personnel information. Then towards the end of the school year, the board should be ready to come back and announce the new superintendent. So that's where we are in the process, just trying to bring everybody up to speed. Does anybody have any questions before I talk about the surveys? Okay.
No, I don't.
Good. Well, initially, we scheduled a little over 6 weeks for the board and staff to gather input. And the school staff worked very hard, and I'd like to thank all of them for making the information available to the public and the staff. We extended the deadline a little bit, and all the surveys were in by December 7th, and the board has had since before Christmas to review the results. So here we are, and we're ready to see what we know. The responses to the surveys show that we had a good turnout. We had approximately 89 people who started the survey, 87 people completed it on the community, and 35 people made comments. So that's excellent. Staff surveys, 48 people started, 48 people completed, and we had 16 comments. So that is a good response. First, we're going to look at the community surveys, and then we'll go into the staff surveys because they are a little more detailed. This slide and the next show the demographics of who was responding to the community surveys. Question 26 asked, do you currently have children attending the Weldon City Schools? And as you can see, this slide answers that question for those who responded. 79% of the community that responded have children in the Weldon City Schools, and approximately 21% did not. We next ask what grades their children were in if they had children in school. And you can see here that around 35 community respondents have high school age children, while 25 have middle-aged children, and around 20 had children in elementary school. Now that we've seen who responded, we'll look at what they said. First, we asked the participants to look at 24 characteristics and rate each one on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being most important, down to 1 being least important. We used those ratings to determine the characteristics that the participants thought were the most important for the next superintendent to have. This slide and the next show the top 10 characteristics, and they're ranked in the order of importance and in how they turned out, although they were all fairly close. The number one thing you see is it's important to these folks that the new superintendent have strong people skills, is good at forming relationships. Second, they wanted to communicate well with people of all races and socioeconomic status. The third thing, they want someone who knows how to get staff, students, parents, and community to work together to help children learn. Fourth was the person must understand how to provide safe school environments for students and staff. Fifth, they said that the new superintendent should be able to communicate with all groups in the community. Number 6, they wanted someone that has ideas and approaches to improve graduation rates and help keep folks from dropping out. Someone that understands how to effectively advocate for resources needed to operate the schools. 8, has ideas and approaches to close achievement gaps. 9, someone that's supportive of the use and development of technology. They felt that using technology in teaching and learning is important. The final characteristic in the top 10 was that the new superintendent should be willing to try new approaches to teaching and learning. So that is one thing we learned. And that was what we learned from the community surveys. Now the board has received a much more extensive report. As I'm just trying to do the highlights for the public here tonight. Let's take a look at the staff surveys. Recall that these were a little more complex as the board wanted a little more detail from folks on the ground. So we have a few more questions that were answered there. To look at the demographics of who responded, you can see from this pie that 62.5% were teachers, 23% were support staff, and 17% were administrators. We asked them if they were assigned to a specific school to indicate what grade level they worked with. And we learned that 80% of the folks who responded were either in high school, worked in high school or elementary schools, a good 40% for each. And 20% worked in middle schools. Next, we asked staff to select the 5 most significant strengths of the Weldon City Schools now. And this slide shows you the top 10 vote getters and ranked in the order in which they were rated as the strength received. So it's good for the board to have a picture of what staff believes is going right. And it helps you as you go through the interview process. The top 5, I'll just say the staff felt that you have excellent teachers and staff. A supportive community, that the size of the system is right, and that they're good school facilities, and the location, and that the location of the system is good. So those are the top 10 on this slide. I won't read through all of them because we have a few more slides to see, but there they are. The next, staff was asked to choose the 5 important areas of skill or expertise the next superintendent should possess. And these are the top 10 vote getters. Just like before, these are listed in the order of the votes they received. So for instance, educational leadership was ranked higher than managing a diverse staff and students. But again, they were all high on the list. So staff felt that educational leadership, communication with parents and community, academic standards and student assessment, staff relations, organizational leadership, curriculum development, and instruction were important. Fiscal management and budgeting is something that the new superintendent should know how to do. Defining system goals, interpersonal and public relationship skills, and managing a diverse staff and student body. Next, the surveys asked staff to select the 5 most important traits for the next superintendent to exhibit. Again, you see the top 10 traits. They want someone that's committed to high student achievement, that values employees, that's visionary, has integrity, and is a motivator. Someone committed to your community. Someone who's proactive, enthusiastic, confident, and can be a change agent. Then the survey participants use this scale to rate the statements on the next slides. The scale runs from 1 to 4, 4 being absolutely mandatory to least in order of importance down to number 1. So looking at those results, survey participants were asked to rate the statements regarding the experience and the qualifications for the next superintendent. These next 2 slides indicate how the experience and qualifications ranked overall. You'll see that the experience as a superintendent with a proven record of success was important, along with, again, experience in finance, handling budgets, and acquiring outside funding. That seems to be on everyone's wish list these days. Experience as a classroom teacher would be a plus, experience in instruction and curriculum development, and experience in North Carolina education. This is the rest of the ones that are in the top 10. Experience as a principal would be good, experience in facility management, experience in human resources. They'd like for them to have a doctorate or a terminal degree. An experience as an assistant superintendent would be helpful. So they like somebody that came up through the ranks. We repeated the process that we did with the community, asking for the staff to rate certain characteristics for the superintendent. And these next two slides show the characteristics. The new superintendent should be a good listener who can make tough decisions. They felt like the new superintendent should inspire trust and be self-confident, optimistic, and model high standards in integrity and personal performance. They want their new superintendent to have good people skills, as we've heard, and someone who is able to present a positive image for the system. Someone that has been successful in choosing and implementing educational priorities consistent with the needs of the school community, and someone who is able to develop and communicate a vision of quality education. Again, they wanted someone that is able to lead a large organization who's dedicated to continuous improvement. They need an effective communicator, which is something we heard high on the list of the community. Someone who's able to listen, speak, and write, and someone who has leadership skills that are needed to respond to a diverse community. The final two, they wanted someone that has an ability to enhance student performance and close achievement gaps, and someone who's committed to academic and activity programs. So that is what the board has learned from the community input. And we hope it's helpful. The board did have a longer report, as I've said, and has seen the actual surveys unredacted. We will make information available through staff tomorrow for anyone in the public that would like a copy of the redacted surveys or our summary report. It's a good time now that we've got some time set aside to talk about the Weldon City Schools leadership profile. And this is the profile that the board is working on after it's reviewed what the community and the staff have said. And board members have worked hard over the last few days to send me some of their ideas about what should be on this profile, so that the public, and so that they can gather their own thoughts about the experience and the skills and the traits and characteristics that the board will look for as it interviews candidates over the next few months. Once the board has finished this profile, we will take it at our office, and we will turn it into a chart that you board members can use throughout the interviews and search process to kind of check and refer back to see if the people you're interviewing meet some of these criteria. It's probably not going to include everything that the board is going to consider in an interview, but this slide and the next two slides contain the ideas that board members have submitted thus far to create the profile. And I can read through them if the chair would like, or we can talk about these a little bit, however you all would like to proceed.
Board members, how do y'all feel? You want to go through all of them or just highlight them?
Highlight.
All right. Ms. Burry Robinson, Ms. Kim Robinson, Ms. Hale.
Highlight works for me.
Highlight.
All right.
Okay, well, it looks to me like the board agrees with the public and the staff pretty much that they want somebody that knows how to handle finance, can collaborate, someone that cares about the people in the community, who can focus on getting resources to help teachers. They'd really like a local person who's familiar with the needs of the children in this rural community. At least one board member said so. And someone that will be in the schools and see what's going on. They want someone that's open and has an open door to people and is able to meet with people in a reasonable amount of time. They've listed, they want to hold, will hold everyone, someone that will hold folks accountable for the position that they hold in the school system. And they want a leader that can move the district forward. People person, someone part of the community again. They want someone that's transparent with the board. Regardless of whether the news is good or bad, they would like to be included. And they would like someone that can quickly orient to the community, who's approachable, will advocate for children, knows the law, someone that's fair, and someone who has a vision and a commitment to grow and take the district to the next level, even if it's unpleasant, even if it ruffles feathers. Someone that's respected by doing and believing in what's right for everyone. A team player, someone who will empower others. The board would like someone that is willing to work, as we said, as a team with the board, someone with experience in restructuring, with a proven ambition for students, someone who's a good communicator in a pleasant way with staff, students, the community, and all stakeholders. One idea was that they wanted someone that was familiar with vocational and technical educational programs in the middle and high schools, and someone that had high expectations of proficiency for public school students in the area. They'd like a leader who has a proven and documented leadership abilities, someone that's been a former school leader. They'd like someone that has the ability to effectively lead in a district that resembles Wayland's city schools. Data-driven would be useful, and someone that can make quick decisions that are in the best interest of educating children. And finally, someone that can serve as the liaison for the district, be a good face for the district, and help everyone put their best foot forward. So we've got quite a list. I think, y'all have done a wonderful job. Your community is very lucky to have your interest and thoughtfulness. Is there anything anyone would like to add or say, or does anything look incorrect? Again, we're just going to take this information and consolidate it into a chart for you to use going forward.
All right. Do we have any board member that has anything that they'd like to add? Any more input? All right. If not, Ms. Black, do you have anything else?
I don't. I just thank y'all for your hard work on behalf of your community, and it's an honor to be able to assist this board moving forward. So I hope all of you will feel free to call me if you have any questions or need any assistance. And again, tomorrow you can expect to have access to all the applications. And I will add that in particular, when you access the applications, we're going to have an experience chart posted as well. And most of the board members I've worked with have found it very helpful to print that out and use it when you review the application, so that you just, it helps organize your thoughts, is my best advice. So look for the experience chart, okay? And that's it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Black, for your assistance and your help as we navigate through this process. Let me thank, certainly, let me thank all of our board members for taking the time out of your schedules. Ms. Kim Robinson, Ms. Donna Harrison, Ms. Tiffany Hale, Mr. James Williams, Ms. Edith Jenkins, and Ms. Tanya Bird Robinson, for sharing your input of what you wanted to see, some of the things you wanted to see in the next superintendent. Thank you all so much for responding to Ms. Black as she compiled this information. So we wouldn't necessarily have to go all the way around to all 7 of us and state what we wanted to see. Thank you all for sending that ahead of time. So to the community that are listening, you didn't hear the board particularly say too much tonight, but we had already forwarded our things that we wanted to see in the next superintendent before this meeting, so we could kind of expedite the information being given tonight. And we do thank you, board members, for taking the time again to do that. Does anyone have anything else they would like to share?
Mr. Sykes.
Yes.
Ms. Black needs to make Mr. Redmond the host again.
Okay, let's see if I can cut out. I'm going to stop sharing. Will that help? How would I do that, Mr. Redmond?
Is he on, Dr. Congo?
Okay, yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You have to, if you don't mind, go down to the participants.
Okay.
And you would see where it says boardroom. And then you see where it says, it should say more.
Yes.
Or make you an option to make host. Does it say anything like that?
It says more and make host.
And if you click make host, that'll give me the host rights again.
That was such a smooth handling of it. I just thank you. Did you get it back?
Yes, I did. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you for helping me get my PowerPoint up.
Oh, no, you did all of that.
It was teamwork. It was all teamwork. Thank you all.
Certainly, certainly. Any board member have anything else they wish to add tonight? All right. If not, before we go, Dr. Congleton, thank you. Mr. Redmond, thank you. Handling the technology piece for us. Miss Kitty, thank you tonight as well. I see you there. Thank you so much. All right, we're getting ready to close out. We'll, do we need a motion to receive that report?
No.
Okay,
It really is just for information for you all and the public.
okay, all right. Thank you so much, Ms. Black. We'll entertain a motion at this time then that we adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Was that you, Ms. Harrison?
And Ms. Jenkins, either one, yes.
Okay, all right. Motion has been moved and properly seconded that we adjourn our special call meeting. You've heard the motion. Is there any unreadiness? Hearing none. All in favor, would you let it be known by your voice vote? Ms. Jenkins?
That's vote.
It was muted back there. I didn't hear you. You said yes?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. Ms. Bird Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Kim Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
And Sykes? Yes. Let the record reflect unanimous